Hey, what's going on YouTube? In the last video, we covered the initial setup of our Gatsby site. Now we're going to actually get started on development. For starters, we'll be adding a Gatsby plugin that'll allow us to pull existing WordPress data into our Gatsby site. And what's pretty cool about this is that instead of us having to construct each query ourselves, this plugin dynamically builds out the GraphQL schema and resolvers for you, which essentially allows you to build your application in significantly less time. So we'll start by scrolling down and copy the npm install, navigate back over to WebStorm and paste that in. All right. All right, cool. That worked. All right, now let's head back over to Gatsby config and paste in the configuration over from our Gatsby plugin site here. All right, we got ACF true. Right. Okay, and we want to copy up until the bracket of the array. Okay, so we got that copied. Let's paste that in. Cool. All right, now let's change our based URL to localhost. And again, you'll want this to point to your WordPress instance. So if it does have a port like 8080 or whatnot, you'll want to include that as well. But mine is just set to localhost. So we'll set it there. And then we're also going to switch use ACF to false because for starters, we won't be using those endpoints. We'll incorporate that later. So. All right, so I believe we have the config finished. Let's run Gatsby develop now and see if everything's working. All right, whoops. Nope, Gatsby develop. Okay. It's a good sign. So far, everything is working. Awesome, compiled successfully. So now what we're going to want to do is head to our GraphQL, our graphical instance actually, and we are going to, nice, it looks like WordPress is pulled in with the schema. Let's test it out and see what we get here. All right, so we'll run that. Cool, it seems that we are actually pulling in the REST data. So at this point, I think we can head over to our localhost admin and try adding a post. Oops. Let's go to WP admin. All right. Posts. All right, let's add a post here. So we have hello Gatsby. We want to know if you can return this. Let's publish it. All right, cool. All right, we need to rerun Gatsby develop because we need to pull down the posts again. So we can set this up in the future so that it'll pull on intervals and whatnot, but for now we're just going to rerun Gatsby develop anytime we make a new post or add new content to WordPress. All right. Looks like, okay. So it does look like we pulled in 3 posts there. Let's head back over to graphical. We'll refresh the page real quick just in case. And run that. And hey, hot dog. Here we go. So it is pulling in the content as we expected. And I think we're about ready to move in and start building our first static query here. All right, so let's navigate to source, pages, index.js. Okay, and we are going to switch over to JSX because for some reason that got messed up. All right. And we're going to go ahead and blow out the innards of layout because we will be writing a little demo static query here. So let's get started with that. All right, so we got layout. Whoops. We did not want the autocomplete there. Oh boy. All right, first things first. Let's get rid of some unused imports that we don't necessarily need here. So we don't need image or SEO for now. Let's blow that out. Let's also get rid of the link. Oh, and obviously we don't need extra quotes. All right, and so one thing I like to do when writing queries of any sort with GraphQL is include them above the actual component itself. So it just allows us to be able to export it and all that. So anyway, yeah, we'll import a static query, and also we'll need GraphQL. All right, and now we can actually get going on the query. So we'll start with making a space real quick because we're going to end up just copying and pasting in the query from our graphical interface here. All right, so we'll copy this. And one thing that's kind of nice is you can test all of your queries with graphical first and then just pop them in right there. But I find that abstracting the actual query away just makes the code a bit cleaner. So I tend to use that. But anyway, let's get started with building the static query out here. While we type this out, let's briefly talk about static queries. Gatsby provides us with two queries that we'll be using pretty regularly, the page query and the static query. So a static query is a component that accepts a query prop. This prop takes a GraphQL query, runs the query, and then provides the data via a render prop, which allows us to build out the content dynamically. We'll cover the page query in a different episode, but the main difference is that a page query is used only for page components and can accept variables, and a static query can be used in any component but cannot accept variables. So we'll double check to make sure that we're querying over the correct data here. Okay, so we have edges, node, content, title. All right, that should work. Let's run Gatsby develop and make sure that it actually is working. Oop, that's a good sign. Success, success. Awesome, compiled successfully. All right. So let's double check the web page, and hey, it's working. We can see all three of our posts now as expected. Well, I think that should do it for this episode. We set up the Gatsby WordPress plugin to dynamically update our GraphQL schema and create resolvers. And we created our first static query to pull in our blog posts. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks again.